This video is a general guide to the interface used in Vectric software programs, and we're going to show you how to navigate your way around the program to get you started. There are differences between the different products depending on what features are available, but the interface itself is pretty consistent throughout. For demonstration purposes, we're going to use a single version of one of the products here to show you around the user interface. So when you open the program, you'll be presented with this panel on the left-hand side. So at the top, we have 3 startup tasks. So here you have the ability to create a brand new file. You have the option to create a file from a previously saved template, or you can open an existing file as a file that you've worked on before. Next up, we have recently opened files. So here the software is displaying the last 4 files that I've opened, and I'm able to easily click on any one of these to access that file and open it up in the software. Next, we have video tutorials. So you have a link to the video tutorial browser so that you can watch other tutorial videos. And then if you've ever downloaded any tutorial files, you can access them from this option here, where that will open up the tutorial files folder. Then we have various online resources, access to your V&Co account where you can access free projects. You've got the Vectric website, the support site, and the Vectric forum. We have various social media channels that you can access here. And then for vcarve and Aspire users, you'll have access to the Design and Make store where you can purchase 3D clip art. So let's start by creating a new file. So we can use this option here. You'll then be presented with the job setup form. So the job setup form allows us to set parameters and machine settings for different designs and operations. For example, we can work with a single-sided job where you just machine on one side of your material. You could work with a double-sided job where you machine on both the top and bottom sides of your material. For vcarve and Aspire users, you have access to the rotary option to enable you to perform rotary style projects. In this case, we'll just go with a single-sided job. Then you get to specify the job size. So this is where you enter in the width, height and thickness of the material that you plan to machine into. You can adjust the units from inches to millimeters by switching between the radio buttons. Then you have options to set your Z0 position, whether that's on the material surface or the machine bed, your XY datum position. You can put that in the lower left, the lower right, upper right, upper left, or in the centre of your job. And for vcarve and Aspire users, you have access to the modelling resolution, along with the option to adjust your material settings. In this case, we're just going to cancel out here, and we're going to open an existing file. The file I want, I have recently opened, and it's the Conrod 2D toolpaths file. So I'm going to select that, and that's going to open up my file. When you start a new job or you open an existing file, by default you're going to see something that looks like this, where you have the Design tab over on the left hand side, and then you'll be presented with the 2D view that's visible in the main window. At the top, we have drop-down menus that we always have access to, and we can click on any one of those and you'll see that we get a menu that cascades down from the word that we've selected or are now hovering over. And some of those menus have sub-menus indicated by this arrow here. And these are all fairly self-explanatory, and you'll see these menus being used from time to time within the video tutorials. Now, the majority of the time you're going to access functions of the software using what we call tabs and icons that appear on those tabs. Over on the left hand side within our design tabs, you'll see that we have various different tabs, and the currently selected tab is highlighted in orange. So here you can see that the Drawing tab is currently the active tab, and we can switch between each tab by clicking on it to access the information or functions that it contains. In all Vectric programs, you will have at least 3 tabs: the Drawing tab, the Layers tab, and the Sheets tab for working with 2D data. Programs that support 3D models will have the Modeling tab and the Clip Art tab. In addition, all of the programs have a Toolpaths tab over on the right-hand side of the screen, and we're going to come back to this later. So let's go to the Drawing tab. All of the functions in the software are accessed by icons, and these are little pictures that you can see within the tab. And if you hover over any one of these, you'll see that it becomes highlighted, and a box with a text tooltip tells me the name of that function, which is very useful when first learning the software. You can click on any icon and that will open up that particular operation, where you'll have the option to close out of the operation to go back into the Design tab. Your job dimensions are shown at the bottom if you have a large enough monitor for the interface to display this information, and the tabs on the left hand side are used for the design process, where the Drawing tab has all of your 2D applications, your Modeling tab has the tools to create and manipulate 3D entities, the Clip Art tab allows you to view clip art from the library of 3D models, your Layers tab is there to organise 2D data, and your Sheets tab allows you to organise and create new sheets. Once finished with the design, you can move over to the Toolpaths tab, and there are a few ways to do this. So I could hover over the Toolpaths tab and then use this pin option to pin that out, and that will just keep that pinned into place, and I can still have access to the Drawing and Design tabs over on the left hand side. To maximise the space to work with, we could look at minimising the Drawing tab. And so another option is if we just unpin the Toolpaths tab, we could look at just switching by using this icon here. And if we click on that, that will just open up the Toolpaths tab and pin that open on the right hand side, and then it temporarily draws in the Design tab over on the left hand side. We can also switch between the Design tab and the Toolpaths tab using the shortcut keys F11 to go to the Design tab and F12 to go into the Toolpaths tab. The middle part of the interface is where we can create and edit the design. And we can split between the 2D view and the 3D view. So the 2D view currently shows us our vectors, and if we click on the 3D view, we go into a 3D environment, and this square represents the material. We currently have no 3D entities here, so we're just seeing the material in view. In all programs, this is also where we can view our toolpaths, and we can switch them on to view them, and we can preview all of our toolpaths where we get a virtual representation of what our part would look like, and I can rotate that around and zoom in using the scroller of my mouse. Now if you're working with vcarve or Aspire that supports the ability to use 3D components, the 3D view is also where you'd see those shapes. So not only can you use the tabs to switch between the 2D and the 3D view, but you can use the shortcut keys. So F2 makes it 2D prominent, F3 makes it 3D prominent. Now if you wanted to view both the 2D and the 3D view, you could look towards the view toolbar at the top here, where we have the icon to arrange our views horizontally. So we switch where we have the 2D view on the top and the 3D view on the bottom. Or you could switch to have your windows tiled vertically, where your 2D view is on the left and the 3D view is on the right hand side. And there's shortcut keys for those as well. So page down allows you to tile horizontally, and page up allows you to tile vertically. You'll notice that we have various icons at the top here, and we refer to this area as the View toolbar. Here is where I'm able to alter how we view our job, along with having permanent access to some essential tools. So let's take a look at some of these. If I'm working in a two-sided environment, like we are within this project, you will see displayed information relative to your two-sided setup that you set up within your job setup form. You will not see these here if you are working in a single-sided setup. So here I can see which way I am flipping the material over, and I can see which side I'm currently viewing. Then we have the Layer Manager, and this is always accessible at the top here, which makes it easier for me to manage my layers without having to switch tabs. We then have easy access to our snap options when drawing in the software, where we can toggle them on and off using the various settings according to whatever it is that I'm creating. And then we have our 2D view controls. So let's just go ahead and maximize the 2D view. So you can see that our part is off center because we had our windows tiled previously, and now we're in full 2D mode. And we can look at using the scroll bars to scroll our view from left to right. We can also use the scroll bar to go up and down. And then we have options up here to really control our 2D view controls. So here we have the option to pan our 2D view with the mouse, and you'll see we have a cursor with 4 arrows on, and if I click, it will just move my job like this. And then here we have the option to zoom to a mouse drawn box. So if we click on that, we can simply just draw a box with the left mouse key, let go, and it will zoom in to that area. Then we have this option here to zoom our active view to the drawing limits. And we also have the option here to zoom active view to a selected object. For example, we could select this circle, click on that, and it will zoom in to that circle. We could also make use of the F key to zoom back to our active limits, and that's the shortcut key to do that. Not only can you use these options here and various shortcuts, but you can use the scroller of your mouse. So scrolling away zooms in, scrolling towards yourself zooms out. And again, we can use this option here just to zoom back into the active limits. Next, along the View toolbar, we have various options relating to how we see toolpaths in the 2D view. So first off, we have the option to toggle the toolpath 2D drawing visibility. At the moment it's currently switched on, indicated by the lit light bulb there. We can click that to turn that off. If we click that on, we then have the option to toggle between a wireframe or a solid view. So as an example, if we switch on the visibility of a toolpath, you can see it's currently in the wireframe, and we're seeing the path of that tool and the direction in which it's going to be travelling in. Or we could switch to a solid view, where we see a colour that represents everything that would be machined away using that toolpath. Next, we have the option to toggle the material block visibility. So if we go into the 3D view, we can switch that on, and we can see our block is represented by those green lines, and we can turn that off by clicking that again. We can look to toggle between a single-sided and a double-sided view. We're currently in double-sided mode, as we can see the top and the bottom in this graphic here, and if we click on that, that will just toggle our visibility, so we're just viewing a single side in this case. And we can click that back on to view our part as part of a two-sided project. And then here we have the ability to arrange our views horizontally and vertically. A way to access certain functions in the software is through context-sensitive menus, and these are accessed through the right mouse key. And it varies depending on the state of the part and what you've selected at a particular time. For example, if we right-click in the white space, we have a variety of choices to choose from. Now, context sensitive means that we get a menu appropriate to a particular part we may have clicked on. For example, if we select a vector and then go into node edit mode, and then if we right click on a node, we get a completely different menu that's particular to the object that we was hovering over and the state I'm in node editing. A number of these have letters next to them. These are shortcut keys where I can access them without having to go into the context sensitive menu. Let's delete this point. So delete that. Now let's say that was an error and we didn't mean to do that and we need to undo what we've just done. We could simply go to Edit and use the Undo option here. You'll also see we have a shortcut key, Control-Z. The other option is to use this icon here to undo the last command. So now let's have a look at the 3D view. So we're going to maximize the 3D view here. We can see our object and there's various things that we can do to navigate around the view, just like we did in the 2D view. To rotate the model around, I can use the left click on my mouse and just move my mouse in order for us to move that object. To zoom in, I can hold my right mouse key and push the mouse away, and then the opposite of that, hold the right key down and move the mouse towards me. If your mouse has a wheel scroll, you can scroll away from you to zoom in and scroll towards you to zoom out. And then if you wanted to, we could press F just to fit that back to our screen. And you'll see here we have icons at the top, and these are different options for us to view what we see in the 3D view. Okay, so we have the ISO view. We can look at this down the Z-axis, the X-axis, and the Y-axis. So let's just put that back in the ISO view. To pan your view, you can hold the left and right mouse key down, and then you can move the mouse around, which is useful if you're wanting to then zoom in on a particular area, for example, this circle here. And then we could just go back into the ISO view. So far, we've had a good look at the standard interface, where we've looked at the different tabs, icons, and how we can view the 2D and the 3D view. Now, it is possible to add customization to the interface, and we recommend doing this after you've become quite comfortable with the standard layout. And you can look at tearing any one of these tabs out. For example, if you wanted permanent access to your clip art tab, you could simply take it using the left mouse key, drag with your mouse, and put that into position. And you can move it around anywhere within your job. You can even take it off of your job as well, so it's not in the view of your software. You can bring it in, and wherever you drop that, it will just permanently be pinned into place. If you wanted to auto hide this tab for when you're not actually using this, you can use this pin option here, and then you can move away, and then that will shortly draw itself in so that we no longer see it and it doesn't become a part of our job. You can see it's hidden itself there. And then when we hover back over it, you'll see it just undraws itself like so. So let's say we wanted to put this over here and we wanted to pin that out so it's permanently in position. Then we could take the sheets layer, for example, and we could take that tab and we can just move that over here. And then to put that back in, you simply drag that over into the design tab, into place like so, and then you just simply drop that in. You can drop that in at the top so you have access to the sheets at the top and the rest of your tabs at the bottom. But if you wanted to put it back into where everything else is, you just drop that back in and you can see it's dropped in there. You can also alter the position of the tabs by just clicking on them and dragging them around. But really, we only recommend you doing this once you are comfortable with the software, as this may make it a little bit difficult to follow along to our tutorial video set. Now, if you have configured your tabs to positions that you want and can work with, it's possible to save that layout. And so to do that, simply go over to Edit, Options, and take a look at the Windows layout. So you can save the tab layout. If you wanted to save that, you just switch that to yes. In this case, I do not want to save that. You can also save dialog layouts as well, and the view layout. So for example, if you had your 2D and 3D view tiled over two monitors, you could actually save that by using the drop down yes option here if you've already separated those two apart. So we'll just OK that, and we're just going to take a look at one last thing here, and that is our help guides. So in the drawing tab, and pretty much in all of the different tabs that we have available, you'll see that we have a question mark, and that enables you to get help on this particular area of the software. And if you go into a tool, you'll also see we have the help option there. So for example, if I click on this, what will happen is the software will open up a browser and it will take me to the Draw Circle section of the documentation, where I can learn much more about this particular tool. So that really completes this brief overview of the interface. Now, we haven't gone into detail on the specifics of each icon and how features work, as that's covered in many of the other tutorials. And this tutorial is intended as a quick guide just to getting around the software.